Premier League fantasy football, 5 biggest signings so far and the prices. The new Premier League season creeping closer and closer, so it's time to seriously think about your fantasy football team. We're pretty confident that the 2017-18 season will be the best one yet, with plenty of new faces incoming to complement the old favourites. Clubs in the Premier League have been busy strengthening their squads ahead of the new season, with Everton regularly hitting the headlines for splashing the cash, Manchester United seemingly linked with everyone and Chelsea struggling to get things rolling. Lacazette could make waves on Dream Team. But who are the 5 biggest and best signings made so far this summer, and how much will they cost on the game? Don't worry, we've got your back. Mohamed Salah, £40 million. Mohamed Salah has been awesome for Roma since joining from Chelsea. Liverpool smashed their transfer record to bring the nippy winger to Anfield this summer. The Egyptian has arrived from Roma with a point to prove after his failed spell at Chelsea a couple of years ago and has really caught the eye in both pre-season appearances for the Reds. With 15 goals and 11 assists in Serie A last season, and a higher WhoScored rating, 7.48, than Paulo Dybala, 7.46, Salah could be an ideal pick for your dream team. And HES practically a steal at £40 million, which is the same price as the likes of Jorginho Wijnaldum and Ross Barkley. No offence to those lads, but we know who we'd rather pick. Alexandre Lacazette, £50 million. Lacazette has been one of the finest strikers in Europe. Arsene Wenger finally decided to solve his striker problem at Arsenal by bringing in one of the most deadly forwards in the world. Lacazette fired home 28 goals in Ligue 1 last season, topping the scoring charts in France with only Edinson Cavani getting more than him. What will Lacazette offer on Dream Team? Highest rated player, 7.57. In France last season, 28 league goals in as many appearances for Lyon, 61 points on Dream Team Europe after helping Lyon reach the semi-finals of the Europa League. Want Lacazette in your fantasy team? Sign up here. Not only that, but the former Lyon frontman was the highest performing player, 7.57, in the French top flight according to WhoScored, while he showed everyone what he could do on Dream Team Europe last season by scoring 61 points as Lyon reached the last 4 of the Europa League. Fast, powerful and hungry for goals, we're super excited to see Lacazette in action this season. And at £50 million, HES cheaper than the likes of Roberto Firmino and Son Heung-min. Bernardo Silva, £4. Bernardo Silva was heavily linked with a number of elite clubs this summer. We heard plenty about this lad last season, and with good reason. Silva amassed double figures for both goals and assists for Monaco as they stormed to the Ligue 1 title and the semi-finals of the Champions League. The winger was one of the shining lights of Leonardo Jardim's ridiculously talented side, and was one of Europe's most sought-after players before Man City snapped him up. The Portuguese ended the season with an impressive 7.29 rating on WhoScored, while his price tag of £4.5 meters makes him a cheaper alternative to the likes of Kevin De Bruyne, £60 million, and Eden Hazard, £70 million. Antonio Rudiger, £3. Antonio Rudiger will be linking up with the Premier League's finest back line. Chelsea's awesome defence was the talk of the town last season, and it could be even more impenetrable this season with their newest arrival. Rudiger is considered one of the finest young defenders in Europe on the back of his impressive performances for both Roma and Germany last season. The 24-year-old is certainly not a bad replacement for John Terry, after a particularly fruitful season which saw him amass 40 appearances for Roma as they finished runners-up to Juventus in Serie A and a successful Confederations Cup campaign for Germany. 82 rating on WhoScored last season, matched with his affordable £3.5 5 meters pricing, makes Rudiger one of the finest new faces in England. Romelu Lukaku £60 million. Romelu Lukaku hit 25 league goals for Everton last season. Alright, so HES by no means a new face to Dream Team, but we just couldn't resist mentioning United's newest addition. The powerful Belgian striker will be leading the line for Jose Mourinho's side next season, and we simply can't wait to see how he does. How did Lukaku get on in fantasy football last season? 25 goals and 6 assists, 7.50 rating on WhoScored, the 10th best in the Premier League, 247 Dream Team points. Fancy Lukaku to shine? Get him in your fantasy football team now. The fantasy football favourite fired home 25 goals in the league last season and finished his final campaign as an Evertonian with an awesome 7. With the likes of Paul Pogba and Ander Herrera pulling the strings in midfield just behind him, and with a £60 million price tag, Lukaku could be one of the fantasy football heavyweights this season. The best Harry Kane Tottenham goals from this season's Premier League. Dream Team 2017-18. How does the game work? This year's fantasy football game will be absolutely free for all players to play. The total prize pot is an approximated £750,000. Game weeks will run from Friday to Thursday. £50 million budget on 11 eligible players. Click here to sign up to Dream Team. Which other players do I need to pick? Well, Alexis Sanchez was the top-performing player on the game last season with a ridiculous 348 points, 31 goals and 13 assists in all competitions. Always helps. Aside from the Chilean, the WhoScored algorithm is a big fan of Paul Pogba, with his all-action style rewarded handsomely by the ratings gods. At the back, Marcos Alonso was an instant hit in his first season with Chelsea, while Hugo Lloris was the highest-scoring goalkeeper. But if they don't tickle your fancy, it doesn't matter. That's the beauty of fantasy football. Stay up to date with all the latest fantasy football-based updates with our live blog and sign up to the game below.